great. So thank you all for joining. We're doing kind of a training slash webinar about pricing and compliance, as we've called it here. But really what you need to know is this is about all of the things that you might need to do as a property admin at the end of the calendar year, sort of preparing your strategy for 2026. So I will quickly go over our agenda, and then we can just do a quick round of introductions. For those who don't know me, my name is Emma. I'm a product manager here at Thynk, working on what we call the core app. So really everything's central to the way that you interact with Thynk when you log in, whether it's the room block manager, events, negotiated rates, products, admin tools. So not really looking at some of our analytics, that's on Julian's side, and not looking at things like Thynk Direct, Thynk Copilot, if you've heard of those newer features. So really kind of focused on core Thynk. Lots of familiar faces, but some new faces. So for those of you who are new, it's great to meet you. And then I think we don't need to introduce everyone on the Thynk side, but I know Ritu is probably a familiar face for all of you. So Ritu, do you want to just give a quick hello?
Hi, sorry. Yeah, I'm just handling the Thynk University, all the lessons and the community, all of that. That's me, and I happen to be on most of the videos for now, so you might recognize me.
Awesome, thanks Ritu. And then Paolo, do you want to just also give a quick hello?
Quick hello. Hi, everyone. Paolo, Head of Customer Success here. Goal of today really is to showing what we can do as a platform. Emma, part of the product team, is going to be here to present everything. So thank you so much, Emma, and the team of Thynk here.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you all. If at any point people have questions, feel free to either use the hand raise button or to write them directly in the chat, and I can use the chat to get back to you all. So what we're going to talk about today, number one, seasonal pricing and pricing rules. I'll get a little bit more into what that is. It's something that we introduced in Thynk some months ago now, but hasn't really been adopted very widely. So we want to talk a little bit more about what it is, why you should use it, how to use it, all of that. And then we're going to talk about VAT changes and VAT rules. So this is something new that will help your company to be compliant with when your country decides that on January 1st, taxes are changing, which we know does happen, especially in Germany, is happening right now. Then we can talk a little bit about rate products and some of the changes that we've made there, also to support pricing compliance. And then we'll talk about the Excel upload process to make this easier for you as an admin, as well as the bulk change process, which is something that will be run on our side by support. So we can just sort of go through what that will look like, and then we'll leave some time at the end for FAQs. So what are some of the example end of year scenarios that we're talking about? Number one would be you're kind of adjusting costs for inflation and starting on January 1st, or maybe starting on June 1st, right? Could be any date, doesn't have to align perfectly with the calendar year. But could be that you're increasing all of your food and beverage products by 2% to, increase with inflation. Could be that you've just decided to do a little bit of analysis on pricing and you're either increasing or decreasing, right? Depending on how things are going. So any sort of pricing changes that apply on a certain date, that would be one of these scenarios. And then another one that I mentioned is taxes are changing. So typically this one is a little more outside of your control based on the jurisdiction that your properties are operating in. Might be only happening at a set of properties, right? Might not be happening across all of your properties. But the idea here is, maybe the VAT is going from 4 to 5%, or you're introducing a new VAT category that didn't exist previously. For example, with Germany, I believe it was food and beverage were one, and now it's being broken out into food and beverage separately at different percentages. So these are some of the example scenarios. Before we move on, I'd love just maybe show of hands or a post in the chat or even the emoji, like, are any of you experiencing these scenarios as we sort of plan for 2026? And yeah, I see some raised hands, so that's great. I'm awesome. Does anyone have any questions or like specific scenarios that they want to discuss? maybe like exactly what is changing. It would be great to hear from you all about, how this is impacting. So I know a lot of you have your hands raised, but if anyone wants to unmute quickly and just share what is changing or type it in the chat is perfect. Thank you so much. So yeah, VAT in the Netherlands, rooms are increasing. So great scenario that we are covering here. Anyone else have anything that they want to share in the chat? Okay, so Belgium rooms increasing. Great. So VAT in Germany is actually dropping for food, and then city tax changes, definitely. Yep. So we'll get into city tax with the rate product discussion. And so Ludwig, when you say business on the books, you mean bookings that have already been sold for the year 2026? You're kind of deciding whether to update those with the new changes? Okay, great. Yep, so we'll talk about those all too. Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Always good to just, hear from all of you how this is impacting you. So with that, we'll jump kind of into the first demo, which is about seasonal pricing. So what is seasonal pricing? We also sometimes call it dynamic pricing. So really it's the ability to create dynamic pricing rules that can be modified for day of the week. So maybe you have a different price on Saturday and Sunday than you do for Monday to Friday for certain products. It can be seasonal flexibility. Let's say you run a ski resort that does huge volumes of business in the winter during ski season and high volumes of business in the summer when the mountains are beautiful and pretty low in those shoulder seasons. And so you might be discounting, for example, your entire product catalog during those off periods to sort of account for the low demand. Year over year planning. So again, if you know that come 2026, or let's even say come 2027, you'll be increasing or modifying prices by some amount, you can sort of start to plan that well in advance. And it's much more granular. So you can create really these sophisticated pricing rules that are tailored to your own business model. So what does this actually look like? And I'll jump into a live demo, but for now, we'll just look at these screenshots for a moment. So on each product, so we'll take crackers and cheese as an example. Normally on the product, you have just unit price, right? So here in the header, you can see this price is $35 or euros. And if you jump here into pricing rules, which you can see are a related list on the product, when you create a pricing rule, what you're doing is saying from either this start date to this end date, or on this day of the week, or a combination of both, right? You could have your Monday price increasing only starting January 1st, 2026. This is the price that should be used instead of kind of the default price on the product here. So we're not doing away with the fact that price lives on the product. That will always continue to be there, and that will always be kind of a fallback if we don't find a pricing rule. But it means that your crackers and cheese, maybe on Saturdays for some reason, rather than €35 is €40, or maybe on Tuesdays, it's a really slow day, you offer it for €20 instead of 35. So that's sort of how we're working with this here. You'll see that there's only one price field rather than having price inclusive and exclusive. And so that's just based on how your property does things. So if you price inclusive, that will be the price inclusive. If you price exclusive, that will be the price. So let me go ahead and quickly share more of a live demo of what this looks like. So what you can see here, I'll go back to that crackers and cheese product, is again, as you can see, the price in the header is 35. And I have one pricing rule for Mondays. And that pricing rule says that on Monday, I'm actually only going to price it at 20. And this is dollars because this is set up in the US. But so I can create an additional pricing rule here by just clicking new. And I can say, well, maybe maybe starting in 2027 on, let's say, January 1st, that's 2028. or we could say January 2nd, I am actually going to increase this slightly from 35 to, let's say, 36. So you can really create like a combination of pricing rules to account for all of this dynamic flexibility. And the pricing rules can be active or inactive. If there's an end date set, that will automatically inactivate them after the end date. But so now you can see I can have for one product a variety of different pricing rules. I'm just going to go back here for a moment. This also works on function spaces. So your boardroom or your restaurant or your large ballroom, when you price those function spaces, it's not a unit price so much as a full day price, half day price, breakout half day, breakout full day. And so when you're doing dynamic pricing for function spaces, you have the same ability to do price based on full day, half day, breakout. A little bit of FAQ, and then I'll open it up for any other questions from the group here. But number one question is, so how does this actually work when I'm, building my booking? Let's say my booking is for January 2026. Basically what we do is we first look for pricing rules. And if that are on the date of either the booking product or the booking event. And if none are found, then we're using the unit price of the product instead. This does not apply to package items, right? Because those are kind of managed separately where you're giving the price for your package. It also does not apply to combo items because those are also priced within the combo. So it's really for booking events where you're using a function space and assigning the pricing there, and for standard products that are outside of package or combo products. And so that's definitely something that we're open to hearing from you about, like how you might need this to work better with packages, combo items. Just a disclaimer there. So packages already today have a start and an end date, which means you can sort of do dynamic pricing with your packages by creating, let's say, new packages every year with updated pricing if your pricing changes. So that is something that is kind of available today, but open to any feedback on it. When you clone or change dates on a booking, so I'll just show this very quickly. When you go to a booking, and you hit change dates, there are these there are three checkboxes here, right? There's update room rates. There's also update product prices and function space prices. So if you check these, that means that we will be looking for any pricing rules on those new dates. So let's say a group decides to postpone their entire booking by a whole year and your pricing is increasing in the next year. You can decide individually when you change the dates, do you want to apply the new pricing either for function spaces or for products or for both? And then same on clone, right? So if you have a group that came in 2 years ago, they want to repeat the booking, but your prices have changed. When you're cloning the old booking, you can say, update the product prices or update the function space prices. So that's sort of at the individual level when you're either cloning or changing dates. You have that ability to sort of decide, do I want to keep what I previously had or do I want to update based on these new pricing rules? And then these are kind of big questions that we'll spend some time getting to. Is there a way to bulk upload your pricing rules? Yes, there is, and we'll show you this Excel template on how you can kind of manage that. We do not really recommend that you go in individually product by product to create pricing rules, right? It's very time intensive. You can see them on the layout, but it's recommended that as an admin, you instead use an Excel template to just quickly upload all of your rules. So a great example would be if all of your food and beverage products are being increased by, let's say, 2%, you can and I'll show this when we get to the Excel template, you could even use a formula in Excel to just say, add 2% to each of these. You don't have to do the math individually each time. So making that like a little bit more dynamic and easy so that you're not doing this all one by one. So for 2026, if pricing is changing. You know, previously the way you would do that is you would just go to like the unit price here on the product and change it. Now what you can do instead is create these rules with an effective date of January 1st, which sort of sets you up then for next year in 2027 doing the same and potentially doing that much earlier in the season. So if you know starting in August what your prices are going to increase to, you can do it then so that you don't have as much data that is kind of out of sync with the pricing. And then the last question here is there a way to bulk update pricing on bookings already sold? So let's say you tomorrow create a bunch of pricing rules for 2026, and now you want to update all of your bookings for 2026. So that's not something that we have today, but it's quite easy to set up if that is something you're interested in. So definitely let us know if that makes sense. I think one thing we have found is obviously once you've already signed a contract with a customer, there's a little bit of stickiness on price. So it's not super typical that you would then increase the prices like this, versus for taxes difference, you know, high need to be compliant with government taxes. So that's the only reason we haven't kind of created this standard, but it's definitely something that's an option if needed. And yeah, I will pause there. So that was pricing rules, which really are about creating dynamic, either day of the week, yearly, or seasonal for kind of a high and low season pricing. It's a really great feature that kind of gives you a lot of flexibility with, you know, profit optimization and just generally being more strategic with pricing and more dynamic in general. So yeah, I want to kind of pause. We can, if anyone wants to unmute and ask a question directly, otherwise the chat is available if anyone has questions on this section. And maybe just show of hands with the hand raise or the emoji reactions. Is this something that people see themselves using, you know, in the future? Okay, great. Awesome. Glad to see it. Yes, so I will get to the Excel template in a few slides. And okay, that makes sense, Charlotte. Thank you. So more about local admin. Can you elaborate on the Papendal side about what you mean that pricing rules are unable to be shown as it's not a showable field? Not sure, Laura or Ivo, if you're...
Hi, Emma.
Hi.
It's Ivo here. In the function space overview, we for one of our properties, they have a listing with the rates for this year of their function spaces. So it's all shown in one field. So the settings, the max amount of guests, etc. And it also shows the room rental rate. But as 2026 is not a stat field yet in the product or the product function space, it's not showing in this field, as it is made as a pricing rule. So what they require is for the 2026 rate to be shown in this overview.
So you mean for like the customer or for your sales
For
team?
themselves, for the team.
Got it. And sorry, just to make sure I understand, you mean like when we're looking at products here, it's that this is not shown?
No, it's a total overview of products. So if you go one field back, one screen back. So in this overview, it's not listing the pricing rule rates.
Got it. Yeah. And that is kind of a limitation on the Salesforce side there of what's possible, but definitely something we can think about. So the ask there is really that you would be able to see all of the pricing rules when you're looking at like a list of products.
Well, not specifically all. I think the question before that would be for us as well. We've used pricing rules to set 2026 rates for function spaces, which are set throughout the year. It's the same rate every day for the full year. How can we set those rates to be the standard rate as of January 1st, 2026? So they need to override the standard rate ultimately.
Okay, so you would want to be like updating this value as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the challenge there is obviously if you have very dynamic pricing where there's a different price for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then a Thursday, Friday, and then a Saturday, Sunday, how do you sort of pick which one is the standard?
Of course.
So how do you think that would work in your model?
For us, we have a standard rate throughout the year.
Okay.
So it's a set rate.
Okay. Yeah, so that's good feedback. I think we can think about, if you're only doing annual pricing and you're not doing like day of the week or seasonal, can we make it easier to have this kind of default rate updated with the rules?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great. So we'll have some more time at the end for additional questions, but I'll jump in now to VAT rules, which is another new model. So what we do here, so VAT categories is something that exists kind of in the back end. Typically only property admins and Thynk support are really looking here, but just to show you a visual, each org, as you're familiar with, has a number of VAT categories that correspond to specific percentages. So if in the year 2026 or with any future tax changes, a brand new percentage is being introduced. For example, you need to create a category 6 with, let's say, 17%. That could be created then as a new category. If the category already exists, for example, you're just moving a set of records like food products from 10% to 12%, but you already have a category for 12%, then that step can be skipped. But really what we're doing here is similar to the pricing rules. You can create VAT rules on the product, which just have a start date, an optional end date, because maybe you don't know when it's ending, and a VAT category. So maybe, this product has historically been category 3, but starting on January 1st, it will move to category 4, something like that. And again, the reason we're creating this is so that in the future, when we're less, when we're not in December, but we're finding out about these changes, let's say in June, July, August, you can actually kind of for the next 6 months manage 2 different VAT categories simultaneously, and always have your products updated with the correct category. So I will quickly show a demo of this as well, just so you can see what it looks like in an org. And sorry. Okay, I'm going to skip the demo on this one because I think it's the wrong work. But you can see here that basically you just create the VAT rule and then you see it similar to pricing rules. And then I'll get into the Excel spreadsheet next, which will show how you can do this all in bulk. So do you need to create a new VAT category? Only if the new percentage doesn't currently exist. So if it already exists, no need. Is there a way to bulk calculate? So I think this is kind of the biggest question here is, let's say all of your bookings have already been sold with all, and I'm just, it is not active yet. This is something that's coming in a next release. So you wouldn't see this yet. It's something that is like being packaged as we speak. So looking at Germany's example where the food VAT is dropping to 7%. So that means that there may be food products already sold on 2026 bookings at higher than 7%. So we need a way to sort of recalculate the taxes on those bookings to reduce it down to 7%. And so we have a process to do that in bulk. Something important to note here is that based on how your property configures prices is how that change will apply, right? So if you do your price inclusive of tax, where you bill the customer, you know, let's say 30 euro, that means that the customer will keep paying 30 and the price exclusive of tax will change. If you bill your customer 30 euro and then like add tax separately as an additional charge, then it's the tax to the customer that will change. Does that sort of make sense more or less to everyone? Okay, great. And then similar to the pricing rules, the way it works with booking dates is first we're looking for VAT rules. And then if none are found, we'll just use the VAT category from the product. So for any of your products where VAT is not changing, there's no change in process. We just keep pulling the VAT. And then cloning and changing dates. Unlike what we saw for pricing rules, where you have the option to say update or not, since taxes always need to be compliant, your clone and your changing dates will always look for the correct taxes. We don't kind of give the option to determine whether you want to pick taxes. And then there is a way to bulk upload, which we'll get to on the Excel sheet. Any questions on this? Feel free to just throw them in the chat. Yeah, so release is being sort of packaged this week as we speak, and it should be available in the coming weeks. And even before the release is ready, you can begin to work on that Excel upload so that as soon as it's deployed to your org, we can upload and create all of the rules. I'll get to the packages and combos question, Renee. I'm just looking at the room is not a product. So what, can you explain that one a little more? I think so. Technically, in the back end of Thynk, yes. So you do the same. There actually is a product in your system. You just may never see it, called room revenue. So in the upload, you would just create a VAT rule for that product. Yep. So it is impacted here. You don't have to do it like by room type or anything like that. It would just be at that product level. So that would come in the Excel document as well. And then packages and combos. So this works with all of that. So when we recalculate for future and when you add new packages and combos, we're always looking first for that VAT rule that tells you sort of which category to take. Any other questions, or this is mostly clear? Okay, so then the last one is with rate products. And this is what most of you, I believe, are using for city tax. So rate products can be set up where every time you add a guest room to a booking with a certain rate, automatically a product is added, typically either for city tax or for breakfast. And so what we've done is we've added a start and an end date to those rate products. So let's say that because city tax is changing on I'm just looking at so no one will see the VAT rule because it's not live yet. So it's not a problem. It's just it's not in any orgs yet. But as far as rate products, so let's say city tax through the end of 2025 is 5%, and then it's going up to 6.5%. You would just add an end date to the 5% and then create a new product, a new rate product for the 6.5% with a start date of January 1st. And then similarly, I'll jump to the FAQs here. There's no need to like inactivate. There's no checkbox. You just put an end date on the current one and a start date on the new one. You can bulk update the be something done by support, which we'll get into. And we do always look for the VAT rule first. So if, for example, you have a breakfast rate product where the VAT is changing, that works with the VAT rules. And so, sorry. So I'll just jump into the bulk upload there so that we can talk about, what you'll be getting. So there's an Excel sheet that can be pulled, which will have all of your function spaces, all of your products, and then it will have 3 tabs, one for VAT rules, one for pricing rules, and one for rate products, where you can see here easily, here's the old VAT category, and you just assign the new one and give it a start date. And that on upload will create all of your VAT rules. And then let me, and so the one issue with rate products is that often rate products have a different price than like the standard product. Sorry, let me get to these questions one by one. So hear you that it would be easier if you could just use the pricing rules. The issue is rate products are often priced differently, where breakfast, like inside the rate product, sometimes has a different price than breakfast added a la carte. But definitely we can look into seeing how those could be easier, and that's a great idea for future products. And for the VAT changes with existing bookings, there is a solution. There is a job that will run that will take all of your already sold bookings, and it will look for the new VAT categories, and then it will update them with the new VAT. And that will work for everything on the booking. So guest rooms, products, packages, combo products. It's kind of a one-time bulk update. So this is the Excel document. So you can see the first tab has your function spaces, the second tab has your products. So these will sort of be automatically pulled. And then all you need to do here really, and you can, set up any filters and sort based on how you need, but just from the old VAT category, enter the new VAT category, start date and end date. End date can be left open if you're not sure when it ends, right? Maybe this VAT will apply for the next 5 years. Maybe they'll change it again in 2. So end date is optional, but start date is required. Pricing rules. So this one, you can see that you have start date and end date, and then the actual price itself. These full day, half day breakout, those are only used when you're dealing with function spaces. We also will have an article on the university that will be published by the end of this week that walks through how to use this template. So when we share the template, we'll share that article as well. And then with rate products, this just pulls all your rate products, and you can add start date and end date if desired, and then create new ones with start date and end date if needed. So again, this template, like we'll have an article walking through exactly how to use it, but main idea. And yes, Charlotte, so this is Excel Connector. So if you are someone who's familiar with Excel Connector, you can kind of like do this yourself. Otherwise, we can share it, and then support will upload it. So yeah, this is like the template that's used. Again, we'll have more of a article with a video and walkthrough of exactly the specifics of each tab, but makes it a lot easier versus having to add one by one individual products. Yeah, and then just reading the questions again. So for hotels in the Netherlands, where VAT will increase on the 11th. So the template, we'll share all of the like instructions on the template in the next like day or 2. And so that like by the end of this week, everyone can start to begin kind of preparing on the template. As soon as the release is deployed, which will be mid-December, then the template can be uploaded. The VAT rules can't be uploaded until you're on the release that has the VAT rule data model. But there's also this kind of one-time job that will then update all future data to make sure it's compliant. So you can kind of begin the preparation as soon as this week. By mid-December, release and upload of document, and then definitely by 1st of January, goal is to have everything fully compliant and live. Just jump back to so yeah, next steps are, again, like as I mentioned, Charlotte, if you have Excel connector access, that's what we're using here to use the template. However, template can't actually be uploaded until you're on that latest release, which is still being put together. Support can also assist with providing the template, which can then be filled out just in Excel independently. And then when you're in the process with support, there needs to be an opt-in to say, run this one-time job where all of my future bookings and or rate products are updated with the new VAT categories start date, end date. What that job looks like for rate products is, let's say I had city tax of 5%, and then I created a new rate product with a start date January 1st of 6.5. The one-time job would look for all future bookings, remove the 5% and update it with the 6%. So sort of updating the compliance there. So timing on the Excel is like preparation ASAP, and then uploading in bulk job will be completed definitely by the end of December, sort of starting over the next bit. Yeah, and with that, I know we're kind of nearing the end of time, so I want to leave the rest of the time for questions. Feel free to, write in the chat. I'm seeing, Renee, there's one more question on VAT changes on all products 1st of January have to be run hotel by hotel. So yes, products are hotel specific. So, with the Excel, you can kind of just do like a big copy paste where you find all your food across all properties and make the same change all at once, but it will need to be applied to every single product. We want to make that as easy as possible with the Excel upload, but the products are still individual to each property. Okay. Any other questions?
Hi, maybe, not sure this is exactly related, but we have a case about the city tax in France, in some city, maybe most. The city tax is a flat rate. So today we use a booking rate product to use that. And with a VAT amount, a VAT percentage at 0%, since it's, but the issue here is that it becomes a product and so is taken into the revenue, while really it's a tax, and so not proper revenue for the property. I'm not sure how to make it better to have a real tracking of the real revenue of a property, excluding these city taxes.
Yeah, that is a great point that I think I need to talk with our analytics team about as well. Figuring out a way to, if there's a particular accounting category that represents tax, make sure that it's treated outside of normal revenue. So I don't think there's any change on kind of the mechanics of like how you do that, but it's more about how we treat it from a reporting analytics perspective and making sure that all works out. But yeah, that's a great point.
You've got a couple of raised hands there, Emma Ludwig.
Yeah,
Bilderberg.
go ahead.
No, just the one.
Can you all still hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. And then is there a question from Bilderberg?
Maybe not.
Oh, sorry, my sound was off. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. If there was a question spoken, I did not hear it. But I am seeing in the chat, we have breakfast included in the room rate, but that is at a different VAT level as of 2026. Is it possible to link the room revenue to a combo product? Do you mean a rate product? So the fact that the VAT is changing will be covered by the VAT rules, whether like even it doesn't matter if it's in a rate product or outside of a rate product, the compliance will always be that the VAT rules apply.
If I may, maybe I see the point that we had that prior well, we have that today in France where rooms and breakfast are on the same VAT level. So for some rate codes, revenue managers just don't care. It's all, at least in Thynk, it's all in the same revenue line. They mix it up all in guest rooms revenue. But if the VAT becomes different on the breakfast, then we need to add a rate product and to make it included in the room rate, to have the same rate plan as usual, but have a different VAT percentage on this specific rate product.
Yeah, so rate products would be the way to do that, exactly. So if you have like the room revenue taxed differently from the breakfast food revenue, the best way to get that created would be to use rate products versus just doing kind of everything in the room revenue, which then everything gets taxed at the room rate.
Okay, but then the next challenge is how to get it over to Muse in the correct way.
Yeah, and so I don't know if Alex is on the call. She is an expert on everything rate products Muse configuration. I don't know, Alex, if you want to, we don't need to go all the way in the weeds, but maybe if you want to just give a quick overview there.
I love that introduction on rate products. So Ivo, just so I understand correctly, is the situation that Capendal has today is like you have, let's say, a room rate of €100, you have a rate product of €20 breakfast that's included in the price, and you want to ensure that in Muse reservations are picked up with €80, and in Muse you have any product rules that will automatically add those rate products in Muse, so you don't have a lot of additional prices added or revenue increasing. Is
Correct.
that
Yeah, that's about correct. Because I think we now make it ourselves too difficult by sending over a rate to Muse, which is including breakfast. Then have Muse discount the breakfast rate and add the product breakfast. Because before the product breakfast was not showing when sent through from Thynk, but that's about 2 years ago when it was set up. So maybe up to date, it's that has been solved, but yeah, I'm not sure about that.
I'm really happy to say it has been solved. We have a flag within each property that basically says send the room rate to Muse with inclusive rate products or not. So either sending the room rate only or room rate with inclusive rate products. In full transparency, we just did get our first client moved to this data model just a couple days ago, and it's been really successful and everyone's really happy. And it was the same situation that you're explaining, that there's a lot of like negative adjustments, positive adjustments, and it's just making also in other integrations with Muse, like your revenue systems get a little bit wonky, and it's really cleared that up.
Yeah.
We can set up a call and I can show you a little bit more on that. I'm happy to set that up and we can see if that's the right fit for your org.
Yeah, that will be great. Thanks.
No worries.
Emma,
Yeah, so
I have a question. I'm not sure if I understood it correctly, because for the VAT rules, we do have to create all the packages and combos again?
no,
No.
no.
Okay. So it will run on the package items and combo items.
Yeah, so if you use package items and combo items, the VAT rule will just always take precedence over whatever is
Okay.
at the package or combo level. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And it sounds like I'm just noticing there's definitely interest in more of a conversation on rate products. So maybe it's worth scheduling something specifically for Muse and rate products, Alex, so we can kind of be in touch about getting that. I'm sure you'll see a community event pop up. Okay, great. And then any other questions? The last thing I want to share, just while you are all here, is about Hotel Tech Report. Paolo, do you want to give a quick little?
I think
Info
that
about
they will all know about my speech regarding Hotel Tech Report, but by Q4 always we run this campaign. It's super important ourselves to first of all understand the state of the market, how you're using Thynk, provide some feedback, positive, negative. We're here to listen you. And we're using also that data to try to analyze and propose new webinars. So if there is a need of anything that you feel that there is a need internally to speak and to provide us with information, please use this service. And there are some people that are winning some gift cards. So we have now there is still 2 weeks for this campaign, and we will have the big draw of 400 euros for everyone that has submitted a review for the past 3 months. So any help is greatly appreciated. That's it. Thank you, Emma.
Awesome. Okay, well, yeah, so this QR code here can be scanned, and I'm sure you'll see more in your emails if you haven't already. But we'll share the recording, we'll share the Excel template, as well as the kind of guide for how to use that. And yeah, Linda, sorry, let me read this. Do we need to consider anything when the invoices are generated for Muse? So accounting category is not changing at all. So no impact to accounting category on anything we're doing here. It's just VAT category and potentially pricing. But the Muse accounting category will remain unchanged. So there should be no impact there with the integration. And great. And feel free, if there are any questions that come up afterward, to let us know by email. Always happy to be in touch here. And then again, we'll kind of share a recap on all of this with next steps clearly outlined. Yeah. Thank you all.
Or on the community. Don't
On the
forget.
community as well. Yes.
I
Thank
think
you,
the
Rita.
community might be better. We might not lose it in emails.
Yeah,
Get us
absolutely.
started there. That would be amazing.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Emma.